How you doing, guys and gals? My name's Doug Wilson. This is Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors, and we're outdoors, and it's raining, and I'm trying to keep the rain off the camera, and it's difficult, right? But it was like 90 degrees. I don't know. It felt like 90 degrees yesterday. Real humid. Then it started raining, and like it does after a lot of rainstorms, the next day it's pretty cool. So right now it's probably, I bet you it's 50 degrees out here, or close to it, right? So I don't mind the rain as long as it doesn't mess up the camera or, you know, blur the picture or anything. So we're going to try to do this in the rain, right? Okay, so on the Hawk's Nest vlog, I was showing you guys this knife right here. This is sold by GearBest.com. So you guys stay tuned. We're going to work with this knife and we're going to see what it's all about. We'll be right back. Okay, so before we get started with this review, right? I probably told you guys in the vlog that GearBest.com, or GearBest, is a huge company in China that sells a lot of different things, but it also sells a lot of gear, outdoor gear, right? Some of it's really low budget pricing and things like that. Some of it is, you know, really decent gear. It depends on what you're looking for and what you need, okay? So they contacted me about a year ago and asked me if I would review some of their products, right? And I kind of didn't answer them, and it kind of fell through the cracks a little bit. So anyway, this year they asked me again. So I basically told them, I said, if I'm gonna like review some of your stuff, it's got to be stuff that I choose, right? So this is the first thing that I choose. This is the first thing I've chosen, right? And they call it the Rock. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a real good look at it, right? Real good look. It comes with a KYDEX sheath. It's not a glass-filled nylon sheath. This is KYDEX. It is 060, the thinnest stuff you can buy, but honestly, it's made pretty well. I can't, you know, I can tell it's machine pressed, right? Even the ferro rod holder, machine pressed, right? But everything's tight in there, right? It does rattle in the sheath. I don't like that, but there's a lot of makers that don't mind the knife rattling in the sheath, right? I mind it, right? I don't want it happening. So, but the sheath is pretty nice. It's got a decent ferro rod on it, right? Nice thick one, 5/8, I think. Right? It locks in there. It's not going to come out of there. Got a little diamond sharpener plate on the side. The jury's out about this. This is really coarse, right? And I'd have a hard time touching my blade to that. But if you really need a sharpener, diamonds are the best in the field, because diamonds, what? They cut metal, right? So you're going to sharpen that blade come hell or high water if it's dull, okay? You get stuck out there or whatever, come hell or high water, that is going to sharpen it. And it's going to put on a sharp edge. So, all right, and then you got this offset plate right here, which is actually the belt loop, okay? In my opinion, offset plates are the weakest way to hang a sheath, right? The weakest way that I know of, or one of the weakest, okay? All you gotta do is fall the wrong way or bump into a tree or whatever, and this thing buckles, it'll snap that KYDEX right in half, right? It'll crease it so that then it's ruined and then you're in trouble, okay? But it's a decent KYDEX sheath. It's decent. For the money that you pay for these, 25 bucks, this is thereabouts, 25 bucks, 29 bucks, something like that on gearbest.com. I got the knife because it looks pretty nice. And I don't often have budget knives on this channel. You know, a lot of them, right? So when I find a good budget knife that you're really not going to pay a lot of money for, that it might be worth checking out, then I'll review it. So here it is. Right? The pommel appears to be one piece of steel with the blade. So basically you got a skeleton here with two handle scales slapped on either side, and all the metal is all one piece. It's all milled out as one piece, right? Or stamped out, or however they do it, right? Which is probably the strongest configuration for a pommel. The first thing that I noticed about this knife was the pommel. I like knives with wide pommels on the back because I am prone to using my knife as a hammer. Nailing tent stakes, whatever. You know what I mean? Cracking nuts, processing tinder or bark or whatever, right? I like a pommel. I always have, right? I use my knives, right? Sometimes I use them in ways that maybe you really shouldn't, but I want a knife that can handle that kind of abuse, right? That's why I like those Phobos knives. They can handle abuse, right? All right, so the pommel is nice and secure. It even says hammer on it right there, right? Like you didn't know that could be used as a hammer, right? Lanyard hole. It's got a nice powder coating on it to reduce rust, you know, to keep rust from forming. Got these two lash holes here that in some circumstances you might want to lash your knife to a stick. It may happen one day for you, right? I've done it. There are circumstances where I would do it, right? These are G10 scales. They're very comfortable. It's not really heavy, right? D2 tool steel. D2 tool steel. So basically, D2 tool steel is a hybrid, high carbon stainless. It's both, right? It's really hard to get it to rust, but it's still a high carbon steel that holds a great edge, right? You know, resists rolls and chipping as long as the heat treat's right, okay? That's the one thing I worry about with knives like this. Is the heat treat done correctly? Because if it's not, you're in trouble. The knife is worthless, and you can't tell until you actually start using the knife and testing it. So we're going to do that now, okay? It's got that shaved out spot on the spine there, 5/32 inch thick, and this on either side is super sharp. You could cut yourself on it, right? Thumb jimping, right? It's got that nice drop point blade there. I tell you, it's a decent knife for what you pay. So anyway, I'm going to elicit the help of the Phobos Legion for actually getting some of this wood processed down smaller. So give me a couple seconds to get things together. All right, let's try something different. I'm gonna try a piece of hardwood. Now there's a knot down here at the bottom, so knots are really iffy, you know. Sometimes it'll go through, sometimes it won't. This is seasoned hardwood and it's wet, so man, that really hurts my fingers. Try this. There we go. Holy crap. All right, there we go. Okay, so You know what? This thing worked real good as a baton, so I think I'm going to use this. All right. Well, thanks, Legion. Appreciate it. Let's put it back in its sheath. I always wipe the blade off before I put it back in the sheath, just so you're not getting a whole bunch of crud in there, you know, because the crud will accumulate, start scratching your blade. That is inevitable, right? KYDEX or leather, if you're getting dirt in your sheath, it's going to scratch your blade. I don't care what you do, right? It's going to happen. So, all right, so let's see what this puppy can do. All right, I'll just baton the corners, right? Okay. I guess before I start, I should show you how sharp it is. I mean, this thing's pretty sharp. I don't know if it's... All right, it's not hair popping, right? But it will shave hair. I stropped it, so... Now I'm going to pound pretty hard on this thing because I want to quasi-abuse it. Because I'm pounding on the tip, and if a knife is going to break, it's usually going to be at the tip where you're pounding on it. This is birch, right? But it's seasoned. It's been out here a long time, but it's not rotted, you know? It's nice and hard. Okay, now I'm going to start cracking from this end too, right? There we go. Right? And I want to look at the knife every time, right? Make sure there's no cracks, no stress fractures, nothing. Edge isn't chipped. The edge is not rolled. The edge is still smooth. Let's try it again. All right, I'm going to put this thing through. All right, let's try a different piece. There we go. The blade's only about 4 inches long, right? If that. Okay, I like that. I think it does a good job. All right, and it's a small knife. You wouldn't want to baton too much with it. I mean, but it'll process wood, as you can see. Let me get a decent piece of wood that I can feather with. There we go. Alright, so let's try some feathers. Let's get rid of this. Now the Grizz, he always says that he doesn't make feather sticks. He doesn't need them, right? And I understand where he's coming from. I like to test a knife doing feather sticks because if it'll feather stick, it'll do a lot of other fine tasks as well. Let me clean this lens off. I think I splurged it or splooged it. Hold on. Okay, so back to feather sticking. Like I was saying, if your knife will feather stick, it'll do a lot of other stuff too, right? I tell you, I have not changed this edge at all. This is a secondary edge bevel. I would say probably 24 degrees, and it makes pretty nice feathers, right? and that's impressive, right? After batoning, and it'll still feather like this, which is not incredible. Any decent knife should do that, but really nice. Rides over there nice and... Alright, so there it is. Heather sticks! I always like them off the bone. I use them in piles, right? So I can put them wherever I want. So let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can notch. Let's see if we can get a notch out of this. All right. This is called a log cabin notch. It's used a lot in traps and snares. My favorite. Alright. Very nice. Pops right out of there. I keep looking at the edge, make sure it's good. Alright. That's pretty good. That's not bad. So let's try figure 7. This is a trigger notch. Let's just do it this way. Too bad. Nice and clean. Alright. Figure 7 notch. That's a pretty decent tip test. This is not the thickest tip in the world, right? So you got to be careful how you do a tip test with a knife with a really thin tip. This one's not thin, but it's not thick either. Right? So. All right. I'm happy with that. I jammed that in there pretty good. What else can we do? We shave some something. Let's see. Let's see if we can shave this guy. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I mean, it's a pretty nice fluff, right? A lot of times, if I want to start a quick fire, I'll pick up any piece of wood, right? Shave the corner of a piece of wood and get like what I call bushcraft cotton, right? It's piles of little shavings, right, like this. That stuff will go up with a ferro rod, especially if it's birch or pine or fat wood or something like that that already has resin in it, right? Flammable resin. Wipe the blade off and look at it, right? Alright, I don't know if you guys can see that, right? The blade is really in good shape, right? I pounded pretty good on this thing for the batoning. We did the tip test, the notching, the feather sticks, right? That tip is still in, edge is still in great shape, but is it as sharp as when we started? It's close to it. It's pretty sharp still. It is not going to shave hair on this. Well, it did just a little bit, right? It's a little bit duller, I can tell, right? A little bit duller than when we started, but this is a decent knife, right? This is one of those knives that, you know, if you want to start a kid out with, you know, a knife or something, I would definitely purchase this for, you know, a 10-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid, or yourself. You want to throw it in your tackle box, the trunk of your car, right? It's a pretty decent knife for 29 bucks. Now, don't hold me to that price, right? But it's close to like 30 bucks, 25, 30, 20, something like that, right? $10 either way isn't going to kill someone, right? I like it. I really do. This is a decent knife for the money. What else can I say about it? I mean, the scale bolsters, you know, the scale screws, these are actually screws, right? And they kind of screw into each other, right? So there's a male end and a female end. If you have these kind of screws that hold on any of the scales of your knives, you might want to tighten these up once in a while. Sometimes they do come loose, especially with the knives that are designed so that you can take the scales off and maybe put tinder in the skeleton knives part of it or whatever, right? Love it. Really, really like it. Really like it. Would this be my go-to bushcrafter? No. Right? But if I was in a hurry, right, could only grab one knife and this was sitting on the table, I'd have no problem taking this out into the field and using it. Right? For now. Now I'm going to keep using this knife, and I'm going to keep abusing this knife, and later on down the line I'll tell you how it's doing. Okay? But for right now, I think we're good to go. I really do. I have seen a couple of reviews. Blue Mountain Bushcraft and Outdoors. Mike, forget his last name, right? He did a review of this, and his reviews are really, really top notch. He does a great job. So you might want to watch his review of this knife. It's www.gearbest.com. It's called The Rock, right? There's the packaging. It's called The Rock, right? Like I said, my Chinese is a little rusty, but a lot of it is in Chinese, okay? So that would stand to reason though, wouldn't it? Chinese company. All right. I like the baton. I'm a batoner, right? I just like doing it. It's fun, right? It's a good test of blade strength in everyday activities. Woohoo! All right. You know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to put this away. Now, I'm going to keep working with it. I like it, right? Look at that. That is incredible, right? I mean, these are like some really, really fine ribbony. That'll go up with a ferro rod if it was dry, right? Absolutely, right? Unbelievable. I tell you, the more I work with this knife, the more I like it. I've had it for about 2 weeks, right? But this is the first time I've actually, you know, worked with it, and I think it's great. What I'm going to do now is, let's cut these off the bone. Woo, right? That's how I use them, like that. I'm going to pound something with this hammer pole thing, right? I'm going to make pretend these are nuts, right? I'm just looking at the end of the pole, right? I want to see if this thing's going to break, right? Be careful doing this. It's pretty strong. Not loose at all. I wouldn't expect it to get loose because it's part of the actual blade. Chris Reeves uses that a kind of process like that, where the whole knife is one piece of steel, right? Even the hollow handle, right? This is not hollow, but Chris Reeves make a hollow handle knives, and he uses that process, right? Where the whole thing is one piece of steel and it's all milled out, right? That's going to make the strongest hollow handle type knife. You know, hollow handled knives that have, you know, a rat tang that only goes up to here. Generally, I would not trust them. I don't care who makes them, right? You put any lateral pressure, any lateral bend on that blade, that it's going to snap. I've done it, right? I've done it. I've seen guys do it in the field. Soldiers are notorious for abusing their blades, right? And I've seen all kinds of stuff in the field. Knives break, guys lose knives because of snaps, all kinds of stuff. It's raining hard now, harder, right? It's raining harder. All right, that's it. This is, for a budget knife, Yellow Hawk approved. Boom, there's the stamp, right? Pretty decent knife for what you're going to pay, right? www.gearbest.com. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this knife and just feather after feather after feather after feather for, you know, a fairly long time, and we'll see how it reacts. We'll see how comfortable it is. If there's any hot spots, that's how you do it. I tell you, this thing's easy to hold. The purchase on it is incredible, right? Usually after about 30 seconds, I can feel hot spots if they're going to form in a particular area. I don't feel anything yet. This is, he's got the angles right. Whoever designed it, they got the angles right. And the handle is just fat enough, I think, for most hands. It fills up your palm, but it's not too fat, so that it feels unwieldy. Okay, now I am starting, right? This is not uncommon, right? I am starting to get a hot spot right here, right? And it's not a hot spot, it's a pressure spot, right? Pressure constantly as you know, on the downstroke, pressure, downstroke, pressure, and it starts to irritate in this area right here, right? And that is a common thing with handles that are shaped like this. They're squarish with rounded edges, right? Sometimes you can get, you know, pressure spots. It's common though. It's very common, but I have to mention it, okay? Other than that, this is a very comfortable knife, right? I tell you, for what you pay, I am pretty impressed with this. And I'm going to you know, it's got that choke up choil. Be careful of that choke up choil, right? This is negative in my book. It's too close to your finger if you're going to use it. So make sure you dull that point down so that you can use it if you need to, right? Guys with fat fingers, stay away from that. All right, guys. This stump is starting to rot, right? All right, man. Thanks for watching, you guys. This review is over of the HX Outdoors GearBest.com Scout Knife. I'm sorry, Rock. It's called the Rock. So GearBest.com Rock Knife, made by HX Outdoors. See you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.